He was working with a really professional team in Brazil, led by an archaeologist, Marty Parsonen from the University of Helsinki, and a geographer from Brazil, Alceu Ranzi. Alceu, years ago, was the first person who noticed that there are these huge geometrical structures emerging out of the Amazon jungle, and he noticed it on a flight on a commercial aircraft in an area that happened to have been cleared by local farmers for planting crops. That there was this massive geometrical earthwork there, and that. He actually coined the term geoglyphs for these because he compared them in some ways with the Nazca lines, which again are really only visible from the air. You get suddenly the massive scope and extent of these things, and it's same with the geoglyphs in the Amazon. And here's the thing: the ones we know about up till now we largely know about them because of these tragic clearances of the Amazon rainforest, which is a maybe short-term economic gain, but is a long-term really not a very good idea. But now with LiDAR, it's possible to find these things without damaging any rainforest at all. And we had a LiDAR expert with us, and you can fly LiDAR off a drone now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a pretty hefty drone, but they can fly anywhere. And we found, I say we, it was actually the LiDAR expert who found. He found you can see the edge of the rainforest where the clearances stop and the rainforest hasn't yet been interfered with. And then he flies over there, and within a matter of hours, he's found multiple more of these structures, several
that are deep in the rainforest.
Covered completely. And LiDAR allows him to see through the canopy and to see what's underneath it without damaging it. And there are these huge earthworks. And this raises the question: how much more is there in the Amazon to find? Especially which even the archaeologists who are most reluctant are now willing to accept that the Amazon had a huge population before the Spanish conquest.
It's so wild. That's such a shift.
Millions, cities.
Yeah.
A whole different way of life, a whole different kind of civilization from the one that we have today. One that lived in a man-made garden, which is what the Amazon really and truly is, and lived in harmony with that.
That's an interesting thing, too. We've talked about that before, but for people who've never heard those other podcasts, they've determined that the Amazon rainforest is at least partially man-made.
Definitely. They've determined that because of the preponderance of trees that serve human needs. They call them hyperdominant, and things like Brazil nut trees, which are providing food for human beings, are in massive dominance in relation to trees that aren't useful to human beings. And it's clear that this is the result of a long-term human project to make this jungle serve human needs.
What was the other one? The ice cream bean? What was that?
Ice cream bean, and I'm forgetting all of the details, but there's a bunch of
food plants
which are hyperdominant in the Amazon rainforest, and these food plants show that human beings have been nurturing, have been massaging this natural wonder and turning it into something that really serves human needs.
And there's the other thing that you've discussed in depth, the terra preta. This man-made, incredibly rich, nutrient-dense soil that they can grow incredible agriculture off of, that we really to this day don't know how they created.
It's a mystery. Again, it was a great privilege to have the opportunity to stand in a pit of terra preta that is being excavated, to get down 15 feet into that. Can
they recreate it once they get it?
It appears that but indigenous communities in the Amazon are still doing this. They're still doing it, mixing all kind of refuse and waste together and enriching the soil with it. So it's not stopped. Terra preta is still being made, but most of it is very old, and the oldest that they found so far is about 8,000 years old.
So it's just large-scale regenerative agriculture using some old lost method.
Yeah, that's right. And making a rainforest, even when you choose trees that are going to serve human needs, it's not enough. You do need to be able to plant in the rainforest. And that is what terra preta has allowed people to do. Rainforest soils are not particularly fertile by nature. So it's these spots of fertility all over the Amazon. And we went into that mystery quite a bit in one of the episodes.
It's so interesting, especially when you consider the stories like The Lost City of Z, which they turned into an interesting film.
Yeah.
But the book details these records of these incredible cities that these people had visited a long time ago, and then when they tried to go back, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Because everybody had died off because of European diseases, probably.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
But those cities were just consumed by the jungle.
Yeah.
And much like Detroit, if you go to Detroit now, you could see there's a bunch of neighborhoods in Detroit that are essentially abandoned, and trees are growing right through the houses. And the houses are, I mean, that's just a few decades ago.
Yeah.
And the houses are almost gone in some ways. And if you went back 200 years ago, there'd probably be nothing left of them. And this is probably exactly what happened in the Amazon, except the trees just consume the landscape because it's such an incredible dense rainforest that things grow so quickly there.
That's what happened. I mean, before the Lost City of Z, we have this very interesting report, and I have mentioned it to you before in previous episode. The expedition of Gaspar de Carvajal and his chronicler Francisco de Orellana, which was an accidental expedition. They were just going hunting in a longboat, but the Amazon took them and wouldn't let them go back. And they traveled 4,000 miles across South America and ended up they started on the Pacific side and ended up in the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
And that's in the 1550s, 1560s. And they report seeing enormous, thriving, prosperous cities, highly civilized with advanced arts and crafts.
Wow.
And they were not believed because 100 years later, when other Spaniards made that voyage and went into the Amazon, they couldn't find the cities. And the reason they couldn't find them is precisely the reason that you give, which is that the jungle had eaten those cities because the human population had been wiped out by disease brought by the Spaniards. The Spaniards didn't have to have direct contact with those indigenous peoples in the middle of the Amazon. The diseases just jumped from population to population and just killed everybody.
It's so wild that happens. It's so crazy when most people probably aren't even aware. Everyone knows there was a genocide of Native Americans in this country, but most people don't know that 90% of them were wiped out by disease.
Absolutely.
Which is just unbelievable to think about.
Yeah.
Millions of people just wiped out over the course of a few decades or 100 years by diseases.
Yeah, it's an early example of a biological weapon.
Yeah, right?
And to some extent, it was used deliberately as a biological weapon. Like those smallpox-infected blankets.
Is that true? The smallpox-infected blankets? Because I've heard that was like a rumor.
It
myth.
may well be a rumor, but from what I've looked at from the Spanish conquest of Mexico, there was a realization that we can kill these people with smallpox, and it was it was spread. And we have some immunity to it that they don't have.
Right, because we had it forever in Europe.
Yeah.
It's just so terrible when you read Cabeza de Vaca's story about visiting the Maya civilization, and you realize that was, you guys fucking killed everybody.
Yeah, the diseases did. I mean, the battles did kill some people.
Sure,
but not on the order of the diseases. Mexico City fell to the Spaniards. Primarily because of disease, and secondarily because the Aztecs weren't popular with their neighbors. So it really wasn't just Cortés and 400 Spaniards. It was Cortés and 400 Spaniards plus smallpox, plus the Tlaxcalans, who the Aztecs had used as a sort of farm for human sacrifices for 100 years. And the Tlaxcalans looked at Cortés and they said, we can use this guy. And so they joined him. He had tens of thousands of Tlaxcalan warriors. Otherwise he would not have had that victory.
So what archaeology would like is to be in control of expressing that narrative in its fullest form. And I don't think they know. I don't think they can.
No.
Nobody can explain the Olmecs. Explain that. Explain those features. And those faces.
It's a very curious thing. And again, the moment we start talking about people's facial features, then they jump in with you're being a racist, you're being a white supremacist or whatever. Although they all make heads.
But
don't serve white supremacism.
Not at all. How would that be racist if these were the most advanced seafaring people alive 6,000 years ago?
Again,
it would be kind of the opposite.
The racism angle is just being used to shut it down.
Right.
This is something that particularly in the climate in the world today.
Well, Flint does that a lot.
Yeah.
He does that. I saw him do that to Jimmy Corsetti online over uses of parentheses or brackets. Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
That somehow or another that's a code for Jews. Yeah. I thought what he was doing was avoiding there's certain algorithms that pick up on particular words that you use. Like you ever see that people they don't, like, if they want their post to be more viral, they don't write the word shooter. They write SH and then they put like 2 asterisks and then TERS.
I've noticed people doing that.
Yes. So what people are trying to do by blanking out swear words and cutting out different words is that you can bypass algorithms that selectively remove or limit the distribution of those kind of posts with those keywords in it.
Yeah.
So that apparently was all he was trying to do, was adding brackets to something to enhance the algorithm.
To enhance the algorithm.
But it's just like accusing someone of racism. It should be very clear what they're saying. There should be it shouldn't be you have decided through some sneaky code to decide that this person's racist. Oh, this code means this. This is a commonly used code. Like, from what I understand, that those use of brackets is just to trick the algorithm. Yeah. Just like the 2 asterisks for shooter.
I think it's very unfortunate that in serious and interesting discussions about the past, that this issue of race immediately gets dumped into it.
Yeah.
Because those who are dumping race into the issue know that that's a way to shut down a conversation. Nobody wants to be accused of being a racist.
It's also the dumbest suggestion, because the most sophisticated ancient civilization that's baffling people to this day is in Africa.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Those were the most advanced human beings ever. And we are in disagreement. There's a lot of confusion and debate as to how long ago they were there. According to their hieroglyphs, they were there 30,000 plus years ago. But at the very least, those were people in Africa. Okay, so all the racism shit should be out the window, because no one's saying that was anybody else.
No, that was an African civilization.
They literally have images of themselves. We know what they look. At least drawings of what they looked like. We have statues of what they looked like. It was an African civilization. They were the most advanced people, perhaps ever. I'm leaning towards ever.
I'm leaning towards ever too.
Yeah.
Because look, can we think of any other civilization that has survived for 3,000 years?
Right. That you can go visit right now.
That you can go visit right now.
Tourist site.
But ancient Egypt as a culture
right.
survived for 3,000 years. It survived the Greek occupation. It survived the previous Persian occupation. It was only the Romans that brought it low. The Roman occupation of Egypt was the beginning of the end.
To put it into perspective, I always use this quote. I forget who came up with this, but it's a perfect analogy. Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone than she did to the construction of the pyramids.
Yeah.
Even if you use the conventional 2,500 BC dating of the construction of the pyramids, which is also under debate.
It's under debate, yeah.
Well, it's also, even if that's true, even if it is 2,500 years ago, the most baffling thing is, how did they do it? There's no simple answers. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. There's no simple answers.
Yeah.
How did they do it? How did they have such incredible sophistication in their construction methods? How did they get those massive 80-plus ton stones 500 miles down from the mountains with no equipment, no heavy machinery? Yeah. Whatever they did, I think it's reasonable to say that in a different way. I don't think they had iPhones. I don't think they had email, but they were probably more sophisticated than us today in their ability to manipulate stone and make constructions.
They certainly were, and I think they had mastery of techniques that we don't know about yet.
And perhaps equipment.
Perhaps equipment. The Great Pyramid remains to me an abiding mystery, which, despite probably 100 or more visits to the Great Pyramid and being inside it and spending the night in it and exploring every passage and every chamber, including the so-called relieving chambers above the King's Chamber, I still can't figure it out. I don't understand how it was possible to do this.